After a lot of digging, I've uncovered 7 chilling true stories set during Home Alone experiences. Each one is filled with suspense and unexpected twists that will leave you questioning everything. Get ready for a terrifying ride. When Emma was around 12 or 13 one late night, she found herself alone at home. Her parents were out, and she stayed up past midnight, casually chatting on her desktop computer, waiting for their return. Like most kids at the time, she had been warned time and again about talking to strangers online. But truth be told, half of her MSN friends list consisted of people she had never met in real life. That night, she was just chatting away as usual. Then, something happened that sent chills down her spine. One of her online friends began describing, in eerie detail, everything she had been doing over the past couple of hours. What she had been eating, drinking, and playing with, things she hadn't mentioned in their conversation. A wave of dread hit her. Her computer was set up in front of a large window, and her immediate thought was that this person, someone she believed to be in another country, had somehow found her address and was watching her through the glass. The truth was even more disturbing. He had hacked into her webcam, which she had carelessly left plugged in and uncovered. Despite being warned about the risks, he had been watching her without her knowledge. It's been over a decade since that terrifying experience, and to this day, Emma covers the cameras on all her devices with thick duct tape. When Ethan was around 10 years old, he was babysitting his 7-year-old sister Lily. They lived near an insane asylum, and from time to time, they'd get an escapee wandering into their yard. So they'd ask to use the phone to call for a ride back to the hospital. It wasn't an uncommon occurrence, but this time was different. It was the first time it happened when Ethan was home alone with Lily. A woman appeared in their driveway, asking Ethan to call the hospital to pick her up. But she also wanted to know if Ethan had any matches. At first, Ethan thought it was for a cigarette, but something about the way the woman asked felt off. Her voice was frantic, half screaming, half moaning. "Matches! I need matches!" Ethan immediately ushered Lily into the house and locked the door, his heart racing. He hesitated, unsure whether the woman just wanted to light up, or if there was a darker intention behind her request. The woman kept calling out for matches, her desperation growing. Ethan didn't give her any, and quickly made the call for help. Thankfully, the hospital arrived to take the woman back. Looking back, Ethan was glad he didn't give the woman what she asked for. While it was likely just for a cigarette, in that moment, it could have been something far worse, something far more dangerous. The story happened to a woman named Sarah, not long after she had just moved into her first apartment. Everything felt exciting and new. One evening around 8:30 p.m., she heard the doorknob turning as if someone was trying to insert a key. At first, she felt a rush of excitement, thinking her boyfriend had come home early. But then she realized he wasn't due until around 10:30, so that couldn't be him. She peered out the kitchen window, hoping to see his car parked outside, but it wasn't there. In fact, there wasn't a single car she recognized. That's when her excitement turned to panic. The doorknob kept turning, rattling for a few more seconds, then stopped. A few minutes later, she heard something metal scraping against the door. Someone was trying to wedge something in, attempting to pry it open. Frozen with fear, Sarah locked herself in the bathroom with a knife, dialing 911. Her heart pounded as she listened to the metallic scraping outside her door. It went on for about 3 minutes before finally stopping. The police arrived shortly after and conducted a search. They found an elderly man nearby, wandering around with a knife and a crowbar. Apparently, he had once lived in the apartment before Sarah moved in, and he was convinced she had stolen his belongings. The officers told her that he was seriously delusional. Sarah still can't shake the fear of what could have happened if she had opened the door. To this day, every time someone knocks, her heart stops for a moment and she freezes. The story happened to a young boy named Sam. Back when he was just a kid, his mother had created a tree swing in the backyard by placing a large log across 2 trees that formed Y shapes at the top. A thick rope hung from the center of the log, with a small wooden slab to sit on. Sam spent countless hours swinging on it, feeling like he was flying. One afternoon, as he was swinging back and forth, something strange occurred. Out of nowhere, he was yanked backward with such force that he crashed onto the dirt, completely disoriented. Before he could fully grasp what was happening, he looked up and saw the log, the very same log that had held the swing for years, splitting in two. It crashed to the ground with a deafening thud, splintering as it landed. Sam had used that swing 1,000,000 times before, and the place where he had fallen wasn't even close to the swing's full arc. It didn't make sense. He looked around, heart racing, but there was no one nearby. That eerie feeling of being yanked back as though something invisible had grabbed him remains etched in his memory to this day. It's something he's never been able to shake off. This story happened to a young girl named Emma, who was house-sitting for a new neighbor. The neighbor, a single mom who had recently moved to Indianapolis from the East Coast, had asked Emma to watch her 2-year-old son while she went out on a date. Emma was in 6th grade, sitting in the living room doing her math homework while the little boy slept soundly in his crib. Around 9 p.m., Emma's phone rang. She picked it up, expecting a normal call, but it was a man's voice. All he asked was, "Who are you?" Emma replied, "I'm the babysitter." But then the man began asking more personal questions, where the mom was, who Emma was, and what she was doing there. Her heart started racing. Terrified, Emma hung up and immediately called the mom to let her know. The phone rang again. It was him, but this time it was even more chilling. He started reciting the address she was at, followed by a question that made Emma's stomach drop. "Is the baby okay?" When Emma assured him that the baby was fine, the man asked, "How can you be so sure when he's that close to a window?" That was it. Emma broke down. "I'm just the babysitter trying really hard on my math homework, and now I'm scared and also failing math," she screamed into the phone. Her mind was racing, and she had no idea what to do next. 5 minutes later, the mom arrived, rushing inside to explain that the man was her ex-husband, who had somehow tracked her down. She handed Emma a wad of cash, thanked her, and quickly excused her from the situation. To this day, Emma doesn't know if the man was hiding in the bushes outside or calling from halfway across the country in Massachusetts, but it remains one of the scariest moments of her life. This story happened to a boy named Jack, who had just started staying home alone without a babysitter. One night, after midnight, the large stereo they had in the finished part of the basement suddenly turned on and blared music at full volume. It was so loud that there was no way he could ignore it. At 8 or 9 years old, Jack was terrified, but he knew he had to go downstairs to turn it off. He did everything you're not supposed to do in a horror movie. Jack went into the basement alone at night, without thinking twice. The house was eerily quiet, except for the music blasting through the speakers, shaking the walls. As he stood there in the dimly lit basement, his heart raced with every step he took closer to the stereo. It felt like something was watching him. Jack eventually reached the stereo and switched it off, but the chill in the air lingered. Every light in the house stayed on until his parents came home later that night. To this day, Jack still doesn't know what made that stereo turn on. He used to mess around with it a lot, so maybe he accidentally set some kind of alarm or timer earlier in the day. That's what he chooses to believe, but a part of him still wonders if something else was at play that night. This story happened to a woman named Lucy, who was at home one evening when suddenly, someone charged up the apartment stairs and started banging on her door. She could hear the woman yelling, demanding that Lucy open the door and talk to her. Her heart started pounding as she listened to the frantic knocking. Lucy asked who the woman was, but she wouldn't tell her name or what she wanted. The whole situation felt wrong, like Lucy was in some kind of danger. She was terrified and had no idea what to do. After a few tense moments, Lucy finally told the woman she would call the cops if she didn't leave. The moment Lucy said that, the woman immediately ran back down the stairs, disappearing into the night. Lucy's hands were still shaking, and she couldn't shake the feeling that something wasn't right about the whole encounter. She's never been so shaken by a random stranger at her door, and she still wonders what the woman wanted and why she was so determined to get in. At this point, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to our channel for more gripping stories. Hit the bell icon to stay updated with our latest content. We appreciate your support.